community. Jeff Smith here, and I am here to show you an exciting new feature that's been added to your FutureWorks BI application. This new feature has been added to Board Matters, FutureWorks BI National, and the FutureWorks BI state level or flagship tier. So everybody has access to this brand new feature, which brings AI to FutureWorks BI. Okay, first let me tell you this. This is not taking your job. Let's put that to bed. This is an augmented analysis feature, which does something very, very important. And it's been a challenge that we've been trying to get a hold of for years. And that is, how do you move someone from raw data to action, right? So raw data, analysis, insight, and action. How can you narrow that gap and make that easier, while at the same time giving as many people as possible in the organization access to the information without overwhelming them? Big challenge. That's been our mission at FutureWorks for so long. So FutureWorks BI does a great job at doing that because it makes the data really, really easy and accessible. But the key here is augmented AI is now coming into play to help me better understand that information that I'm looking at on the screen, and kind of fast tracking my ability to get to those insights, to get to ideas of where I want to go in my pathway of exploration of the data, or storytelling of the data, or even acting on the data. So I'm going to leverage AI's capability to help me out there. So it's really just going to be playing intern to me. I'm always in control. What's on the screen that I see, it sees. It doesn't see anything more other than what it can grab from the labor market information that it has access to and the context it has access to out there in the world. So this is super, super valuable for helping me accomplish my goals of being able to better understand my administrative data and what it's telling me. So, and it doesn't matter who I am, right? The beauty is that the AI, which here on the screen, let me move my mouse down here, is right here in the toolbar down at the bottom. The beauty is I can actually select, when it does its analysis, the type of target audience I have for its output. So for example, I can select board director, which is what's selected. I can do board member, I can do case manager, I can do data analyst, and I can even do a new staff person. So someone who does no familiarity with the WIOA required indicators or any of those data elements that are in the PIRL, I can generate an output that's designed to speak to that person. So I have audience ability to kind of define the audience who I want my AI to respond to. So here I am on a data view, and I'm going to do this in the context of a task that I always have as a user. I'm just like you guys. I have been doing a lot of return on investment analyses lately and presenting those. And one of the things that I analyze is I asked a fundamental question, which is, when I'm looking at participants by demographics, is it representative of the general population? I mean, how does that compare to the general population? So it's a common question, but in order to get that answer, I typically will have to go out and go to Census data, grab some ACS data, pull it in, look at it, and make that comparison. Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes it's just a lot more work, et cetera. So I'm going to use the augmented AI to kind of shortcut my work here and see if it's going to bring in other things that catch my eye and interest and get me thinking probably in a different way that I hadn't thought about before. So it's really going to kind of augment my experience here in analyzing the data on the screen. So I'm on a national view. Like I said, this is available across all views. So I'm on the national view right now. I am going to configure my view, and I'm going to hit the analyze button. So you can follow along. This is kind of like the workflow that I would normally go through. So I'm on the default view. My goal is to focus on Arizona, my home state. And I'm looking at the served population. And I want to look at it by race and ethnicity. So I'm going to grab that dimension, put it in rows. Since I want only Arizona, I can get location off because I'm going to filter by location. And for those of you that are watching, if you are like, well, how did he do that? What did he do? Reach out to our support team. We can walk you through all of this good stuff at any time. We're always available. So All right, filter by Arizona. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the national set, look at that. I can go down to the board level. I'm just sticking at the state level. Okay, I've got everything here. I had caught the eye up on my filter bar up top there that I already had 24 sets, so PY24. So I'm good with that. I'm going to apply that, make sure I've got everything that I'm looking for, because I am going to tap into my quote intern and have it look at the same thing and give me its opinion or its analysis. All right, so yep, I've got program year 24, Arizona, by race, ethnicity, and oh, these numbers are very large, which means I got reportables in there. Since I am going to be doing ROI analysis, I just want to get my participants since they count in the outcome metrics. So let me do another filter. Indicator status is what I'm going to use. So here's where we can isolate the participants in Arizona for program year 24, and that number will dwindle down to 62,000. So almost 63,000 people. Okay, so is this a representative? Is this a representative group of the population? Like, how does this compare to the general population? So I'm going to go over here. I have the board director audience set, so I'm going to keep that. That's fine. And I'm going to click that button. So I'm just clicking the Insight Analysis button. And now this screen of data, just exactly what I'm looking at, it's now looking at. So we'll give it time to think. You know, we're nice. But again, let me repeat, if you do not have that button, that means you do not have it implemented in your FutureWorks BI subscription or your profile. So reach out to your FutureWorks BI lead to get it turned on. Okay, there we go. So now it has provided the output. Now, a couple things to note. Right up top is a disclaimer. Not a big surprise, right? I mean, we all know at this point, I believe, that you've got to double check this stuff, right? So there's that disclaimer up there to remind you to review the information here. It's like it's the intern, so you got to review the intern's work. Okay, so it's returning some information here. Yep, total served. It's giving me since this is the board director an executive director that I had set as my profile, my audience profile for the output. It's kind of focusing that narrative targeted at that person. It's got key insights here. You can see it looks like it's identified the largest segment of the population are Hispanics and followed by whites, together representing 75% total WIOA participant base in the state. So that's already given me an insight to consider in my storytelling. You know, that 3/4 of our population is based on those two, that ethnicity and that race. So you can see Native American engagement. So it's taking that into account here. And it's not giving me a chart. Well, noted. Okay, it didn't chart it. Interesting. So it gave me some strategic recommendations because, again, this is a board director profile. So it's kind of thinking strategically. So it's providing some insight there, even some action, right, of what I might want to be doing. So even giving me a participant flow logic, right? Reportable individual gets staff assistance, becomes a participant kind of thing. So it's running me through that. And then it's also giving me source references. So anything that it pulled out from the world here, actually Census Bureau is referenced. You can see it right here. So this is already getting me thinking in the direction that I was already thinking. So it's giving me information I didn't have that I wasn't really aware of. So I have a lot of food for thought here. But since my goal was, I really want to compare this. It kind of referenced the census stuff. It didn't chart anything. So I really would like that. So what do? Well, I'm going to close this and I'm going to go back and add a custom question. So this is where I'm going to say, how does this compare to the general population in Arizona? And then I'm going to ask it, kindly, please chart. Kindness never hurts. So there we go. It is now, I clicked yes. I know it doesn't look like it. And there we go. Now it's sent it back to my quote intern. It's a powerful intern, I must say. And it's rerunning the analysis and now has added what I just asked. So it added that additional context to its analysis. So it knows I want a chart, and it knows I want to make this comparison. So I'm expecting to see some more focus on that. And it certainly, you can see in the initial output, it was already leaning in that direction. It was already referencing census data, right? It was already referencing that storyline that I was heading down. Okay, here we go. So it's giving me, yep, disclaimer, select that audience, board director, the prompt. There's exactly what I typed in. I can continue on to add that. So let's just say maybe it didn't do a chart this time. I can really insist that we have a chart, or just append a new question to it, or whatever, modify that question or whatever, and it'll rerun when I rerun it. So the suggest is merely I can type a question in, and that question is going to go to the FutureWorks team to tell them, hey, this is something you should consider to add, permanently as part of its analysis. So that's a way that we can collect feedback from you all. So you can use that suggest thing to say, oh man, it's running this analysis, it's just missing all this stuff, and I wish it would include that. Let us know. All right, so it's giving me an output here. Let me look down because I'm really after the chart. Yay, look at that. There's the chart. All right, that's telling me it's doing what I wanted it to do. I was looking for that visual. And actually I can see right up top here, actually in the narrative, it's giving me the narrative about that data, right? That comparator. So you can see I've got my general population in yellow, my WIOA participants in blue, giving me what I wanted. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So certainly it's giving me, again, more recommendations. It's giving me source references. So I really have accomplished my task without having to go out and do what I historically would do, which is go grab the data on my own, bring it back in, yada, 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 and go about. As a matter of fact, it gave me a lot more than I would do normally anyway, right? It's giving me recommendations, it's giving me ideas, it's giving me thoughts, it's giving me pathways of where I might want to continue investigating or considering. Perhaps I want to put this over a period of years and say, because it's telling me, look at it, look how it's trending. So it's already delivering more value than I would have delivered to myself, and my work would have taken longer. So this is a really good example of, and a very simple example of how powerful it can be. I can get this out to Word. I can get this out to PDF. So everything that you see here in this output can be pushed out. And there you have it. I can continue on investigating data and running my AI against it, consuming that, and moving forward. So it really doesn't matter what I'm looking at on the screen. I think in the moments where maybe I get confused or it's something more challenging to interpret, running that can be super, super helpful, right? It probably will be able to detect patterns that are hard for me to detect, but it can look at that screen and see it right away and at least get me pointing in a right direction. All right, so if you don't see that button, remember, reach out to your FutureWorks BI lead to request that you get the AI augmented analysis in FutureWorks BI turned on for you. Thank you so much, folks, and happy World Cup.